we're going to be talking about, introduction to red teaming, what red teaming is all about. There's a lot of buzz in this industry.
It is a group of ethical hackers who assume the role of an attacker in order to test the defense structure of the organization.
So it's 7 and unlimited tries, right? So it's very likely that an attacker can gain access, right? Okay.
So we see now here we are trying to find out the server 2019 which are running in the...
How do you stay updated with the latest techniques and tools related to AD enumeration and BloodHound?
I think learn because this so that we can plan our next set of steps, the exploitation steps.
So in this podcast, we are actually going to talk about Active Directory enumeration. How do once we gain access in a red team, how do we start enumerating the Active Directory environment? Also, a bit of stuff about BloodHound. So it's an exciting topic. Please stay tuned. Myself, I am Karan, CEO and Technical Director at Redfox. What we pretty much do is pen testing, right from infra, AppSec, red teaming, purple teaming, and you name it. And we have offices globally in Mumbai, UK, Delaware, and Toronto as well. Right, so we have been doing a lot of pen testing over the past few years. And also, we train at conferences. We also have our own training academy where we, launch our courses every single month, actually. Right. So I'll pass on the mics to one of our finest pen testers, Shashi and Tarak. Please introduce yourselves, guys.
So hi guys, my name is Shashi and I am the lead security consultant at Redfox Security.
Hey guys, I think we have met before in the web application podcast as well. So I'm Tarak Sakaradande and I work as a security consultant here. And there's a lot. It's just fun working with you guys. We are always hacking into new stuff.
Perfect. Thank you for your introductions. Right. So the first segment we're going to be talking about introduction to red teaming. Can you guys, one of you guys, give a rundown of what red teaming is all about? There's a lot of buzz in this industry. What is it all about, right?
So, likewise, what red teaming exactly is, it is a group of ethical hackers who assume the role of an attacker in order to test the defense structure of the organization. So, it's like, hey, what kind of a path can an attacker have to the organization? So, we assume that role in order to secure it.
Apart from that, we also provide defense strategies to the team so that they can basically fix their issues. Whatever the issue that we find, they can fix that. So in our reports, we mentioned that as well.
Okay, perfect. So as a whole, we are testing people, we are testing processes, and we are testing infrastructure as well. Yes. Right? Okay. Cool. We spoke about environments, right? So what kind of environment do you guys usually see in red teaming?
So as we know that more than 95% of the Fortune 500 companies use Windows as their environment, right? So in Windows, they are using Active Directory as a service. That's what we can call it as. So that's what we also find in the environments that we pen test. So usually the environments are mostly Windows. And that's why the whole CrowdStrike and Windows fiasco. Because that's why these Windows systems are used in corporate environments heavily. So that's why this issue has been, a big deal for the corporate because all their Windows systems are down. Basically, all their operations are down right now.
So coming back to that topic, can you guys shed some light on what actually happened? Right.
So actually, let me tell you first what is a CrowdStrike. So CrowdStrike is an antivirus and the EDR solution that is installed on most of the Windows or Active Directory environments so that they can catch attackers like us. So, and what happened was so one thing I want to just clear here, it's not a security threat. It's just basically a bug that has been introduced in the CrowdStrike software. So that's why it's happening. So it's not a security issue. Okay. So now what's happened that basically CrowdStrike has implemented some new functionality maybe, and they have just pushed the update. And all the update has been installed on all the Windows systems, and that update has a had a bug, and because of that bug, and okay, let me also tell you what that bug is actually doing. So that bug is trying to access invalid memory reference, and since this software, this AV software runs in kernel mode, that's why it's when it try to access that invalid memory reference, since it's the invalid memory reference, Windows doesn't know what to do. So that's why you see the blue screen of death.
BSOD.
So yeah, that's the whole thing.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, so key points, it's not actually a cyber security incident. It's just kind of like a mesh up. My feedback on that is I think Microsoft and CrowdStrike should have handled this situation better. They just let their customers fend it for themselves, right? So
Even I think we also suffered that some of our engagements got delayed because of that.
exactly. Right. So now we'll move to the second segment, the fun segment where we are going to be talking about Active Directory enumeration, and it has a practical component, right? So we are going to try showcasing our practical stuff as well, right? So what is Active Directory enumeration and why is it important, guys?
So okay, let me to the new viewers, let me tell them about what is the Active Directory first, then we will go on to the enumeration. So Active Directory is a directory service. So think of it like as a phone book which stores name and phone numbers. Similarly, Active Directory stores information about network objects. So these objects can be your users, groups, computers, and as well as shares. So yeah, it stores these information about a network. It also handles the management of tasks like user authentication and access control of the resources as well. So that's what Active Directory is. And coming to the enumeration part, so once we are inside the the Active Directory network, that's the first thing we do. We see where we are in the network. Then we will look at the different Active Directory components like what are the users, where are all the what are the high privilege groups, where are the sensitive shares. These kind of things we look at in our enumeration.
Okay, that's very
So
good. Actually
basically, like
simplified.
getting an overview of the whole network and getting a firmer grip.
Yeah, so that we can plan our next set of steps, the exploitation steps.
Okay, and does an attacker actually do the same?
Yeah.
They do.
They do, obviously.
Okay. Cool. So, what are the common tools? And then we can just step into
Okay,
the
so
practical.
enumeration, as Sashi rightly said, it's about knowing more about the network. So there are three things to be precise. So one is the AD module that's inbuilt in the PowerShell itself. A second one is PowerView, and the third one is the command prompt. So you can use any of these. I usually use PowerView. Most of us have probably use it, but still.
Yeah, if you want stealth, then we can.
Yeah, but this I'm talking about command line tools right now. But other than that, there's BloodHound as well. So what BloodHound does is it basically acts like a graphical user, provides you a graphical user interface, so that it's much better to know the attack paths or exploitation when you actually look at it on the screen.
So this practical, I have taken it from one of the labs that we provide at our conferences. So from that lab, I have just taken out this practical, and that's what we are going to show. So in our conferences as well, we teach our students or other people same kind of stuff.
So the first command is who am I that we usually run. So what this basically does is we need to know that with what username we are logged in and which domain we are. So you can see that the domain is security and the name is Fox. The username is Fox. Okay. So the next command.
Yeah. So this net user / domain command is basically we are using this command to find out all the users that are present in the domain. So that's what we see. So these are some of the, not some, but all of the users that are present in the domain. Yeah. So now what we are trying to do, now we are trying to find out basically the information about the current user, that's the Fox in this case, to find out, this user is part of which group. As we can see that this user is part of normal domain users group, and when the user is created, when did he last logged in. Yeah. So this kind of information we find out about our user.
Yeah, also the group members, we can see that the user is actually a part of the domain user. So usually in a network, whenever we are pen testing, we are logged in as a domain user itself. So yeah.
So that's the next thing. Now we are trying to find out about all the groups that are present in the domain. So in which we clearly see that there is a domain admins group, that's the very high privilege group. So yeah, basically we find out what are the different groups that are present in the domain.
This is all a part of enumeration. So knowing more about the network. So yeah. As I said before, we are using command prompt for now. There are other ways we can also do it. Yes. So basically, this is talking about the domain group, that is domain admins. And basically, you can see that there is a user named BKB admin who is the administrator.
Yeah. So as we see that in this domain, we see that there are two domain administrators. That's a good thing, because in many environments we have seen that, like, let's suppose there are 100 users, and they have 20 domain admin. So there is no use for 20 domain admins to have in that environment. So yeah, generally that's what we advise our clients as well, to have less than 5 domain admins, because fewer the number of domain admins, fewer the chances of misconfigurations. So yeah, let's go to the next command. So yeah, here, as we know that there are 2 domain administrators in the domain. Now we will see. Let's see. Okay. Okay. So here we are trying to find out the domain password policy, because that's very important. Why? Because it helps us as pen testers or attackers as well, to find out the domain password policy. Why? Because we need this. Why? Because it helps us to fine tune the password spraying and brute force attacks. If we are not careful about this, the policies, then we are going to basically block, or I would say lock our user. So that's why we need this information, so that we can fine tune the password spray attacks. So if we see in this environment, we see that minimum password length is 7, which is quite weak. Generally we advise to have a minimum password of at least 12 characters. And also, if you see, the lockout threshold in this environment is set to never. It means that we can just spray unlimited amount of passwords, and usually we get a hit if there is a weak password.
So it's 7 and unlimited tries, right? So it's very likely that an attacker can gain access, right? Okay.
So yeah, I think that's what we are showing here, highlighting here. Same things. And lockout duration is basically, it will be logged out for 10 minutes. And observation window is like, we are checking for a window of 10 minutes. In 10 minutes, how many password we are spraying. So yeah.
Okay, so moving on to the next command.
So here we are trying to find out the domain controllers that are present in the domain. So using command prompt, we can find out. So if we see in this, so in this environment, we see that there is only one domain controller, and that's the primary domain controller. So in our engagements, we usually see that there are more than one domain controllers, and one of them will be a primary domain controller. So if you are running any exploits or anything like that, don't run it on the primary domain controller, because it is going to bring down the domain as well. Yeah.
Okay, so these were the tools that were command line tools, as you could see, that we were using command prompt, solely command prompt, in order to find and enumerate the network. Now we are going to use something that is very commonly used, and personally my favorite as well. That's PowerView. So basically it's a module, and yes, let's just get to it. So before we actually execute certain scripts, we need to use the command PowerShell execution policy bypass so that we could import PowerView, and then we can start off enumerating the networks as well.
Yeah, so just continuing here. So basically we are bypassing the by default security policy of the Windows that has been applied. So in the default setting, the policy is set to restricted, hence it will not allow you to run any scripts. So that's why we have to first bypass it, and then we can load our scripts.
Yeah. And I guess the antivirus also kind of makes a bit of a mess over there. Yeah.
I think now we are going to import the script using the import module commandlet. And once the modules are imported, then we can just run the functions that are provided by PowerView. So usually the same stuff we are going to do same again with the what we have done with the command prompt. So if you see here, the first thing that we are trying to find out the name of the domain is, we see that the name of the domain is security.redfox.local, and the name of the forest is redfox.local. So I think right now we are in a child domain, and the name of the domain controller is DC-02. That's what we saw in using command prompt as well. So again, the same thing, using PowerView also we can find out the domain controllers. Correct, correct. So same thing here, we will show that in this domain there is a single domain controller, and yeah, that's about it.
Okay, again the same thing, number of users in the domain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is no. So I think this is
I'm
for
so sorry.
yeah.
It is actually the properties of our user.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, as you could see, the first command that we run, it was who am I, and we were logged in the network as the user Fox. But when you can see using PowerView again, we can get the properties of our username.
Yeah,
So you can get more into it, like the groups and a lot of things.
Yeah. So I think now we are going to find out the description property of all the users. That's very important. So if you're thinking that if we see that in this case, let this command run, and then I will. So let's just play it. So if we see that there in this when we are trying to find out all the domain users and checking the description property, we see that that's a possible password, right? So that's what we also see in our engagement. So if you think it's that easy, believe me, it's quite easy when we are in the engagements. There are certain engagements where we have finished up the engagement in 15 minutes just in the enumeration phase.
Yeah, because there was one crazy thing that we had a network, right? And we actually got the password of the domain admin in the year itself.
Over there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's quite possible to find out things, very interesting things, I would say, that in using this command. So yeah, let's move on to the next command. So here I think, yeah, so here we are trying to find out the computers that are reachable from our systems, so that we know that these are the computers that are running in the environment and how we can move laterally between the computers. So that's very important to know. So I think, yeah, that's what we are trying to find out here. So yeah, so as we can see that in this environment there are 4 computers. One of them is our domain controller, that we already know that it's the DC-02 is the domain controller, and that's the primary domain controller, and looks like there are 2 workstations, WS01, WS02, and there is a server also in the environment which is SRV02.
So what is, there's this ping option also you have given.
Yeah, so this ping is basically checking which systems are reachable. So let's suppose there are there are some systems that are down, it will not show those systems. So we know that we can't do anything with those systems.
It's like which computers are available right now that we can fiddle with.
Yeah,
So that's what ping command
yeah,
is.
exactly. So yeah, I think let's see the next command, which is getnet computer, and I think yeah. So here we are trying to find out the version of operating systems that running on the systems, because that's very important, because we see there are environments which are still running XP in their network, so which are quite vulnerable to kernel exploit, SMB exploits, eternal blue attacks like that.
Yes.
So yeah, so basically just play it.
Yeah, vulnerable and outdated components, right?
Yeah,
So it's really not a good. You need to keep on updating your systems in order to have a more secure network, I must say.
Yeah, so we try to find out most of the operating systems using this command. Basically, we are using a regex here to try to find out. Just let it run.
Sure.
So we see now here we are trying to find out the servers, server 2019, which are running in the domain. I think we have some computers that are running 2019.
Yeah.
Apart from that, we also look for computers which are running XP. That's what we just talked about.
Yeah.
And now we will check for Windows 7 systems that are running. Let's see, now we are checking for Vista. As we see that there are no vulnerable systems in this environment. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, so these are some of the vulnerable operating systems that we look at, and we report that to our client as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So moving on to the next command. Here we are trying to find out all the groups that are present in the environment.
Yes.
So yeah. So these are the groups and their properties, and we can just use the pipe operator to just select the
To select a specific group and to name.
basically to find out just the name of the
names of
groups. Yeah. So yeah, it's the same output that there are domain admins group, domain users group, and some of them, some of these groups are default, some of them are user created. So yeah.
So usually attackers are after which group?
Yeah.
Domain admins group, right?
Because that group has the highest level of privileges in the domain. So that's why if we can just add a user to that group, it means we are the domain admin and we can do anything in the domain.
Escalate your privileges, right?
Yeah, anything. So here we are trying to find out members of a domain. If we see, that's what we also see, that here we are, if you see, we are trying to find out the members of domain admins. If we see the output, there are 2 members. That's what we also saw in the command prompt output, that there is a backup admin as well as the administrator. If you see the member property there. So I think that's what we are highlighting here as well. So yeah, that's the SAM account name, which is domain admins, and yeah, these are the 2 members that we already saw.
The backup admin and the default administrator. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, moving on to the next command. Let's see. So I think again here it's related to group only. So here we are trying to find out a user is part of which group. Okay. So yeah, so let's see the command, which is get net. I think it is group, and then we will just give the name of the user, and we know that user is part of which groups. So in this case, we are trying to find out administrators. Just normal command. We can give any user other username here as well. So generally we give the user that we have, so that we know that we are part of which groups, and then we will look at the privileges of that group, and we have those privileges. So yeah. So yeah, same here.
So this particular user administrator is part of these groups, right?
Correct. Yeah. So yeah, it's a very high privilege user.
So this is how actually an attacker gets to know about the network. Like, hey, I need to find who are the domain admins. I need to know how the high privilege users are there, and then he starts escalating with it. Obviously,
during the enumeration phase itself, as an attacker, we are able to find out the way where we can go from here. So yeah, that's why this enumeration is a lengthy process. But if you are really good at enumeration, I think the exploitation part is very easy. To be honest. So that's why we try to enumerate everything, so that we don't miss out on any
Easy part.
low hanging fruits. Yeah. As we just mentioned, we usually get domain admins very quickly.
yeah. Even in the especially the description field one, that's one crazy thing. Like,
so again here, I think it's the same thing. Here we are trying to find out the users which are part of administrators group. So as we can see, these are some of the I think there are 2 groups: enterprise admins, domain admins, which are part of this group, as well as one user as well, which is administrator. So yeah, we can have a group inside a group kind of scenario as well. Same thing here. We are trying to find out the domain admins, the users, the members of domain admins group. So once we have enumerated user objects and group objects, now we will go for the organizational unit. So organization is think of it like as a container, or you can think of it like as folder, which is used to organize things in Active Directory. So as we can see, these are the organizational units. Now we will try to find out information about a single organizational unit. We can just use get net OU and give the identity of the organizational unit. If we see in this case, we are just trying to find out the information that we have on the domain controllers organization unit. Yeah. Now we are trying to find out what do you say, the group policy objects. So the group policy objects are in Active Directory are used to enforce policies on computers and users. So that's what we are seeing here. Here we are trying to find out all the group policies that are present in the domain. So some of them are default, some of them are created by admins. So the user creative ones are very very interesting to look at, because usually that's where the misconfigurations are happening. So yeah. So yeah, and again here we are trying to using this, basically using this identity option, we try to find out about a single object. That's why we use identity for all of these commands. So yeah, again here we see that we are trying to find out information about this secure GPO DC group policy objects. So this is how we try to find out information about organizational units and group policy object. They go hand in hand, because group policy objects are applied on organizational units, and all the computers and users present in the organizational unit will have the same policies that we have defined in the group policy objects.
Understood.
So yeah.
So, can you explain, like, what have you seen with GPOs in real world environments? How can an attacker, let's say you get these GPOs, how will you actually go about, some scenario you could explain?
It's the scenario that we have seen in our engagements as well. So in our labs as well, we have that scenario. Basically, okay, not to give spoilers, but anyway, I will tell some of the parts, because anyway. So basically, what we see that if let's suppose that we have a privileges of a user, and that user has a right privilege on a group policy object, and we know that this group policy object is applied on organization unit, and in organization unit we have all the computers. If we can make some settings at that group policy object, because using our right privileges, all the settings will get to the computers and
Users or any other object.
yeah, correct. So let's suppose in that group policy object we can create a scheduled task, and that scheduled task basically can give administrator. In that scheduled task we will define a command which will make us as the local administrator. And when the GPO is applied on all the computers, the same command will run on all the computers, giving us the local administrator on those computers. So that's the attack path that we have seen in our engagements. So yeah, this kind of misconfiguration can happen.
Very dangerous.
Yeah, very dangerous.
Even get local admin access on a
Domain controller. So let's take this scenario. So here we are trying to find out the group policy objects that are applied on the domain controller, which is DC-02. And let's suppose there is a GPO called secure GPO DC, and if our user has that right privilege on that group policy object, we can become local administrator on the domain controller, and game is over from there. So yeah, here we are trying to, and in the previous command we tried to find out the forest. I think so let's see this command. So using this command we can try to find out our own domain as well as the domain we are trusting as. So I think we looked at that our domain is security.fox.local, and our parent domain is fox.local. So that's what we say. So yeah, moving on to this next command, which is very interesting, which is invoke share founder. So let's suppose once our enumeration is done, we are not trying to find. So let's suppose we don't find any interesting path that we can execute. So then we usually go to this finding the information in the shares. So using this invoke share finder command, which is a part of a PowerView module. So when we run this command, it will try out and go and see all the shares that are open, and it will just check whether there are any information properties. Yeah, especially this invoke share finder, it will find out all the open shares that are present. And if we want to find out the information, the sensitive information in the shares, then we have very amazing tool which is called Snaffler. That's we regularly use in our engagements. So let's see that Snaffler here as well. So coming to this industry, I was really blown away by this the scale of this tool. So yeah, many of the times we see that credentials are stored in the open shares, and this tool will try to find out the specific password that is stored.
And the best thing about Snaffler is actually gives you output in the
color
coding.
Yeah.
So it's more better like visually when you are trying to map it.
So in this scenario, let it run, and then we will see. So using this basically based on the severity of the sensitive information, it will color code the output. If you see there is red, yellow, green, it means that the red one is obviously the sensitive information. Yeah, so it will take some time based on the environment. If there is a very big environment, it is going to take even hours sometimes. So yeah, just let it running, and you can do your enumeration stuff. And when you come back, you have your passwords and everything ready for you. like in most of the cases, not all. So yeah, as we can see that there are some sensitive information, and let's see. Okay, if you see, I think there it okay. So looks like it's the okay. So in this scenario, if you see, that looks like it's a password of a MS SQL user. So that's the what they use for a database in the Active Directory environment. So yeah, using that we can find out the name of the user and password and how we can connect to the database in the network. So yeah, that's again, Snappler is a very amazing tool. You guys please check out this tool. It will really help you in the engagements as well. Yeah. So I think yeah, let's. So this is where the enumeration through command prompt and PowerShell have we usually do. So I think yeah, let's now once we have done that, I think
We can just move forward, right? So,
Yeah.
okay, so this was actually a fantastic session. This is something that we use day in and day out for our, red teams, internal network pen test, you name it, infrastructure pen testing as well. How do you stay updated with the latest techniques and tools related to AD enumeration and Bloodhound?
I think learn because this field is moving very fast forward. So that's why learning is important. Learn about different tools and techniques that are coming up. So yeah, stay updated.
So I think some of the resources could be like following the GitHub repositories. You could also there's a good site called adsecurity.org. Check it out. There are new attacks coming up every single day. Follow them. Follow us as well. We are blogging a lot. So now we'll focus our attention to a really powerful tool that actually maps out the entire Active Directory environment in a graphical format. So I'll let you guys give more information about it.
Yeah.
On to you guys. Yeah.
Bloodhound, right? Okay. So I just love Bloodhound. Like totally where I'm doing my engagements, I personally like the visual part more, but again, there's a ifs and buts which we'll cover in the next part. So what Bloodhound exactly does it has a collector called as Sharphound, and Sharphound goes and queries all the protocols and onto the network.
LDAP protocol.
Yeah, LDAP and other protocols, and basically it gets you all the information that is needed in the network. So now you have everything, basically like the network in front of you. You have a visual representation, and you can actually enumerate using that as well. So there are a number of properties in Bloodhound, like finding the number of domain admins and more like that.
So simply, I will tell that think of Bloodhound as the Google Maps. So if we are trying to go from one location to other location, what we do? We try to just give the two location, and Google Maps will give us the path. That's what we do in Bloodhound as well. Yeah, how to reach there. That's so same thing we do with the Bloodhound. So basically, what generally we do. So whatever the user that we have pawned, we use that as the initial location, and in the final location we will give the high privilege group like domain admins, and when we run the Bloodhound query, it will find out the shortest path to that domain admin. So we saw that in the command prompt and the PowerShell that we used, the information is quite scattered, right? We don't know the exact path, or it will take a lot of time. So that's where Bloodhound comes in. It will give us a nice and easy path so that we can exploit. And this Bloodhound can be very useful for the defenders as well. So there's a saying that a defender thinks in terms of list and attacker thinks in terms of graph. So as long as this is true, I think attackers are ahead. So yeah.
Right. Okay. So now we spoke about the features and all of that, right? So let's move on to the practical section.
Yeah, let's.
Let's just quickly talk about it, and then so our viewers can understand more.
Yeah. So basically, Bloodhound has two components, as Tarak mentioned. That one is the ingester, and the other one is the collector. So the ingester is the GUI tool, and the collector is the one that we run, which uses the LDAP protocol, and it will query out all the information from the domain controllers. So this is the command. I think yeah. Okay, let's leave it here. So as we can see, that's the command sharphound-c option, and the all option, basically it will query out. Basically, this will enable all these flags. So now the Sharphound tool will find out what are the users, groups, GPOs, OUs, what are the relationship between them, and then it will create a JSON file. That's and then we can just send that file to the ingester, which is the Bloodhound GUI, and then you can just go to Bloodhound and it will give us the paths that we just talked about.
So the part of collecting the data is done by SharePoint and putting it into the graphical interface done by BloodHound. So they go hand in hand. But
So yeah, if you see, I think that's what the output. It depends on the environment. If it's a large environment, again it will take hours as well. So yeah, so that's the graphical interface. It uses Neo4j as its database. So that's what we are trying to log into the database, and when we feed that data, it will all the data will be saved in the database, and we can use just Bloodhound magic to find out everything. So yeah, let's see the functionality of Bloodhound and how we can use it. So as we can see, the SharpHound has collected all the information, and it will create a zip file which has all the object information in JSON format. So now we can do just drag and drop that zip file into the Bloodhound, and then we'll see that Bloodhound will process it, and then we can just run our queries. Yeah, so that's what we are doing here. We are dropping that file in the Bloodhound, and it will process that file. As we can see, it's now processing the computers, users, groups, the same thing that we just discussed. So depending on the environment, it will take some time to process here as well.
How noisy is this tool?
Yeah, it is noisy. So defenders can catch it. Like in most of the scenarios, they can catch it, but there are some scenarios in which they have not catched us.
But it has like a stealth version as well, right?
Correct.
So I think that can also be caught, right?
You can do check that out.
so if you're someone who is really starting off with Active Directory enumeration, so what happens is that a lot of time people are like, hey, instead of running PowerView and all of this stuff, why don't I just run Bloodhound in the environment? But that is exactly what you pointed out. You asked like, how noisy is it? So SharpHound actually alerts defenders, so Bloodhound. So that is why, if that's the case and the antivirus is blocking it, CLI tools are more prevalent, and powerful.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the GUI. So it has 3 tabs: database info, node info, and analysis info. And in analysis info, it has different pre-built queries. So using that find all domain admins, we can find out all the domain admins. We already saw that there are 2 domain admins in the environment. So
one is the backup admin and the default admin.
Yeah. So here we are trying to find out the users that are Kerberos stable. So not going too detail in Kerberos. So that's a attack in Active Directory.
We'll take it up in the next podcast.
Yeah, correct.
Surely,
Yeah. So here we are trying to find out the Azure Pro stable users. In this scenario, there is only one, which is quite dangerous. And so that's one of the important commands.
The main command.
Yeah,
so it's like finding the shortest path to the domain admin.
So if you own any of these objects in the domain, you can directly become the domain admin. As we can see, this is looking like a secure network because there is no easy direct path to domain admins. So yeah, but we know how secure these environments really are.
They're really not.
Correct. Yeah, this is another path to shortest path to all the high privilege groups. So you see, so basically this Bloodhound uses graph theory, and it will build a relationship between the objects in a graph form, so that we can know which path we have to take.
So behind the scenes, I think they use Neo4j, right, which is based on GraphQL.
Correct.
Right. So.
Do let them know not to freak out if there's a big diagram.
Because if there is a large environment, this is a pretty small environment that we just saw. If there is like environment with hundreds of or thousands of computers, you are not going to make sense. But don't freak out. You can just take it slow. That's my suggestion here. So now let's see. So again, we are trying to find out. Here also we are trying to enumerate like which users have DC sync rights. So if a user has DC sync right, that's a very high privilege user. So we can find a path to that user as well. So moving on to the next command, we have let's see. Yeah, I think it's the same. Yeah. So now we can also pinpoint a user as well. So let's suppose we are the Fox user. We can find out information about our user as well. So if we can just click on it, it will just show you all the things about our users.
So this would be pretty much similar to net user Fox.
Yeah, exactly.
Correct. That's yeah. So what usually we do, I think from here we try to find out the outbound transitive object control. So basically it will give this user has what privileges in the domain. So how we can basically let's take this example. So this Fox is a part of domain users group and domain user member of some other group. That's how we can find out the relationship between a user and groups and privileges we have on those group and other user objects.
Yeah. So mainly why the transitive object control properties, because see, whenever you are in a network, you are as a domain user, right? So you need to know, hey, what all stuff that I can access right now. So that is where actually object control gives a
So yeah. So here we are basically showing, I think, the same thing that we just discussed, outbound object control. And what we usually do that, let's suppose that we have a hold of a user, then we mark that user as owned. It means that we own that user. So that's the initial location.
Okay. From there, then the vectors change again.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
we can do it at different ways. So if let's say you get another user, you have compromised another user, you can actually set it as own principles and then find the part to the different users.
So this is how easy it makes our lives, right?
So if you see now there is a query like shortest path from our own principal. So this is the domain and this is the user, and if we click that, it will give us a shortest path. But as we can see in this environment, our users don't have that privilege, as we can see in our screens. That's why there is no shortest path. But there are many other ways. So yeah, we are not going to give spoilers in this demo. That's why you are not seeing anything here. Yeah. So yeah, if you are seeing here what we have basically now we have same thing. Let's suppose we have a hold of a user Jeff, then we will check the outbound object control, and if we see in this scenario that this Jeff has some generic right on other user. So yeah, this is how we can find out different attack vectors using BloodHound.
Perfect. Okay, so that was powerful as well. Thank you very much, guys. Can you discuss any emerging trends or new tools in the field of Active Directory security or pen testing?
Yeah, so there are many tools coming up. I think we have another version of SharpHound, which is it's called SoapHound. It is not using the same protocols. That's why it's stealthy for now. So and apart from there are tools are coming in because Windows is like patching those tools, basically detecting those tools. That's why different tools are coming up.
So there's one I think we discussed the other day for blue teamers. They can actually use PlumHound.
PlumHound,
Right, it just gets the entire thing in an Excel sheet.
Yeah.
Right, there's AD recon as well.
Correct. Yeah. They can also use BloodHound as well, the defender as well. They can just find out the attack vector and then they just cut down the paths.
But do you guys see Active Directory going away anytime soon?
I don't think so. People are moving toward cloud, but I don't think Active Directory is going to be less, but it will definitely be there because of the laws and regulations. Because if let's suppose a client is in India and there are regulatory policies there, if and the cloud environment is in America, they can't just take out their data into the cloud because of this issue. It's not going anywhere. At least for the 10 years, I can say.
Can you share any best practices for maintaining security of Active Directory in a rapidly changing IT environment?
So best thing you can do is have a good password policy. Because
That's number one.
That's number one. Okay. Apart from that, use the principles of least privilege, so that you assign the user only the privilege that he needs. They don't need to have write access on a GPO. There is no need. But we see in the environments. So this kind of verification, stay away from this.
Yeah. Also the part where there should be less number of admins in the network as well. So
Patching, patch your systems.
as well as the vulnerable outdated conversation.
Right. So I think overall, Active Directory is a moving body. Things change every day. The attacker just needs one thing to get in. Right. What is Azure AD and how does it differ from traditional Active Directory, guys?
Okay, so basically we saw this SharpHound in collector tool. So that's used in the Active Directory environment. Same, the same like for if you take analogy like for this cloud as well, we have the similar kind of tool that's called Azure Hound, but the graphical user interface will be same for both of them. So the Azure Hound will query the cloud APIs and find out the users, roles, other these things from the cloud, and then we can just take that data and feed to the Bloodhound. Again, the Bloodhound will give you the same attack paths.
It's the same bloodhound. Right?
Yeah, it's the same. I think they have now released another Bloodhound which is called Bloodhound Community Edition as well as the Enterprise Edition. So that's the newer version of Bloodhound that you can use. It has.
So enterprise edition, is it paid?
Yeah, it is paid.
How much is it?
I don't know the current pricing, but it's quite high. Yeah, expensive. But you can use a Community Edition for your purposes. Yeah.
How do you assess the effectiveness of the security measures implemented after an AD enumeration?
Yeah, so same thing. Whatever misconfiguration that we have discussed, if they have implemented the solution for that, I think that's a very good environment when we are.
So that is like having the misconfigured access controls on wrong users, something like that.
So they have
Having the password in the description.
Or get a pen test through us.
get a pen test. So, especially us.
How to join you guys and learn?
Yeah, you can. We offer many courses, and we also go to different conferences. You can reach out us there as well. So yeah, that's the easiest way. Or you can just we have our Discord channel as well. Just join us and have a chat.
Keep on asking questions.
Yeah, and if you want to come, you can anytime come at Redfox Security and in Mumbai office, and we can have a chat over coffee.
What advice would you give to organizations just starting to implement Active Directory security assessments?
Let me just give you the real world things that we see in our engagement. So right now, what we are seeing that most of the environments we are pawning using certificate-based attacks and relay-based attacks. So if they, while implementing these kind of solutions in their AD environment, if they can just implement them in a secure way, I think they are pretty safe.
So I feel they should have like a security first approach rather than building and then thinking about security, right? Okay, that's fantastic. How did you guys first got to know about red teaming and what made you get into this space?
Okay, so likewise, I had a amazing journey. So basically, I started off as a web application pen tester. I was into that, and then as of I started learning, great thanks to you as well, you guys. So I got to know that there are ways. There were hack the box and other references as well, and then I was like, hey, I need to get into this as well, because it's like more into network. You're getting to know about networks, what to do, how does an attacker actually enter and compromise your domain. So I was like, hey, I am interested in that. So that is how I actually started, and obviously great thanks to you as well. So we do so many red team firms here. So even me being a web application, starting off as a web application tester, I was like, okay, I need to do this as well. So that is how I just started off.
And you, Shashi?
Yeah, so basically these large networks fascinates me. So I want to know what's inside them. So what are they storing? So back then I was a developer at Infosys. So there I was working for a very big firm in US. So I see that lots of misconfigurations there were in their networks. So I was thinking like, let's suppose if adversary come into their network, they can easily crush them. That's what we see in daily basis. In many companies, they are going down. So that's what intrigued me to learn about the security features. So yeah, from there I get started and learned about the basics of Active Directory and the attacks that are present in the Active Directory. Yeah, so from there I go. Yeah.
And we talk about the career. How to build a career in red teaming. Who should actually consider a career in this space?
I think anyone who is intrigued about the offensive side of things, they can definitely look at this field. I think it's a blooming field and it's a very fun field. It's challenging, tense, but it's fun at the same time.
Is it high pressure?
Yeah, it is high pressure, but if you are into it, the pressure don't feel the outcome. Yeah, once you get the outcome, there is no pressure. Yeah, very satisfying.
What's the best way to start learning about this?
So yeah, as for anything, start with the basics. Learn about what an Active Directory is. Build a local lab and try practicing attacks there. Learn about enumeration. Try to basically run different tools. Learn more about them. So learn about Bloodhound, these kind of tools, and from there you can read blogs, and we have we have also launched many courses for red teaming as well. So that's already up. You can check out that course as well. And the beauty about our course is that we provide a lab with that course, so you can practice then and there as well.
Fantastic. So I think we have a lot of courses in there as well, right? So Windows Red Teaming, which is a really good course, where we are actually teaching way more than our competitors.
The $2,000 course. That's big.
And the best thing, it's really straight to the point. Like if you get your hands on that course, you will be able to actually solve real world targets. So I have noticed even in my journey when I was learning, it's more there are a lot of gamified version of labs. But when these are the labs that are actually encoding what really happens in the real world engagement.
So whatever experience we have done, so many engagements, like there are countless, I can't even count them. So all those information, all these scenarios we have put in our labs so that they can practice there, and you can, when they are doing their pen test or the red team gigs.
So it's actually not really capture the flag. It's more realistic.
Yes, more
right.
realistic.
So it's more like, hey, these are the misconfigurations. Go and exploit.
Every attack that we have put there, we have thought a lot about that, and we have taken from the real world experience.
Perfect. So we also have not Windows, web hacking basics, web hacking advanced. We are coming up with a lot more courses, iOS, Android, Azure. You guys are developing the Azure pen testing course. There's an extreme version of Windows Red Teaming, where we are going to be discussing about how to bypass AV and get through the systems, right? So there's a lot of exciting stuff that's coming in this year. So stay tuned, guys. Also subscribe to our channel. Follow us on LinkedIn. We are also hammering a lot of information through Facebook and Twitter. Do follow us on other platforms as well. There's a lot coming from our team at Redfox. We are working really hard. We are researching on new tactics and techniques that attackers use. Basically, you're kind of learning from the best here, right? So we, when Shashi just said we have done countless number of red team assessments, this is all coming from there, right? So, guys, any closing thoughts before we jump off?
Yeah, enumeration is the key, I would say.
So I think if you enumerate an environment really well, it is very easy to actually exploit these systems. There have been cases where we have just enumerated, not exploited anything, and we have,
as Sashi rightly said before as well, the low-hanging fruits. So you need to have your hands completely on the enumeration part in order to go and then exploit the whole domain.
Perfect. Thank you very much, guys. Stay tuned for our next session. Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you, guys.